Hello and welcome to Life in Print with me, Leonie, or welcome back if you've been here before. So today is my April wrap-up where I talk about all the books that I've read this month and give you a little mini review on each one. So it's usually quite a long video, so I'm going to just get straight into it and get talking about it. I've read 20 books this month and we're going to start with the Keys to the Kingdom series by Garth Nix. So I've read 5 of this series this month, which was Drown Wednesday, Sir Thursday, Lady Friday, Superior Saturday and Lord Sunday, and I must say that I really enjoyed this series. I sort of got into a mini reading slump with them after Drown Wednesday. I didn't enjoy Drown Wednesday quite as much. Sir Thursday didn't really pick it up for me either, but I decided to persevere with them, and I must say that Lady Friday, Superior Saturday and Lord Sunday really pulled it back round. It's about a young boy on the cusp of coming of age, in the sort of as he's becoming a teenager, so he's 12 years old. His name is Arthur Penhaligon, and he gets roped into the house at the centre of the universe and becomes its rightful heir without really wanting to be, and it's all about the adventures that he has in that house. It's got loads of adventure, loads of magic, and it's a fun series for sort of anybody from 10 years and older. Blackbird and Still Waters by Jennifer Loke were my recommended reads for April, and they were recommended to me by my friend Sasha. They are true life sort of autobiographies, but around the sort of genre that I would say is about sort of abuse of children, in the sense that Jennifer Loke as a child had quite a bad upbringing. Her mum was always really sick and she had to look after her from being a young age. When her mum and then her dad died, she was passed from a sort of evil stepmother onto aunts and uncles that didn't really want, and she never sort of got that chance at a happy life. So Blackbird covers the childhood and Still Waters is more about her sort of teenage years through to her adult years. It's not really the genre that I would usually read, but I must say that I really enjoyed them. I read them on the coach to and from Newcastle when I went to see my sister last weekend, and I couldn't put them down. They read like fiction while still having that true life element to them, and I would recommend them even if you don't like true life but you're thinking of trying some true life. I would say these two were the ones to go for. Sorceress and Witch Child by Celia Rees. These were my nostalgic reads for this month, and they are about a girl called Mary Newbury who in Witch Child sees her grandmother hanged as a witch and leaves the country for America to avoid the same fate. However, once she gets there, people start to become suspicious of her. They think that maybe she's practicing magic, and this is the 1600s. People still burn witches in those days. So she escapes into the forest where she's taken in by some Native Americans, what were known as Native Indians there, and she becomes a part of their family instead. And in Sorceress, it sort of carries on the story, and we find out what happens to Mary once she actually becomes Eyes of the Wolf instead of Mary. So that's her name within the tribe that she lives in, which is the Pennacook tribe. They are really interesting books, and I think the perspective reading them as an adult compared to when I was a child is that you actually see how terribly, white British people behaved towards the Native Americans when they got to America, cutting down trees, desecrating graves, building towns on sacred places, and essentially just pushing them out. And I have to say that I felt ashamed of my own nationality, that, people back then who are my ancestors somewhere down my lineage did that to people. And it really puts into perspective as well the way that we still treat people. I don't mean me personally, and I don't mean you guys personally, but the way that there is still white supremacy in this world. And I think this book, both books, but particularly Sorceress, when you learn more about the Indians, it just really starts to put things into perspective. I'm probably not wording things properly, but what I mean is that it gave me a big emotional tug and a lot to think about, and I will be doing a lot more research on things that I've picked up from these books. A Secret Garden by Katie Ford is about two friends who find a secret garden and also find love. I didn't enjoy this one as much as Katie Ford's other novels. She's long been one of my favourite authors, but this one just didn't really have as much to it as the others. Also, it's called A Secret Garden, but they don't actually find the garden until sort of the last couple of chapters, which was a bit disappointing because I kept expecting it to appear and it didn't. And I just think it tried a bit too hard, I guess, and it wasn't as good. It's not put me off. I will be reading Katie's books going forward, but I just didn't enjoy this one quite as much. The Bear and the Nightingale by Catherine Arden was a book that I received as an ARC, except it's not advanced because it had already been published, but I received a copy in exchange for a review from Penguin and Del Rey Books. It's an absolutely beautiful cover, which was the first thing that kind of drew me to it, but it is a fantastically amazing story as well. It's all to do with sort of Russian folklore. It's got a very dark element to it. Sort of, if anybody's read the original Grimm's fairy tales and seen the sort of dark that's in them, this is very much like that. It was also quite interesting to learn about Russian culture, which beyond Disney's Anastasia is not something I've ever really read into or looked into before, but it has prompted me to do that now as well. Also, Catherine Ann just has the most beautiful way of writing. I haven't read a book that was so wonderfully written in quite a long time. It was really just delicious to soak it up and read it. Caraval by Stephanie Garber. Now, this is a novel that I had heard loads about. It sounded like something that I would like. I think somewhere along the line I may have got it confused and thought it was The Night Circus. But whatever the case, I didn't enjoy this book very much. I felt that to set something in what I'm presuming is like a different world, there wasn't a lot of world building, and there also wasn't any real character building, so it was impossible to kind of feel passionately about any of the characters because you didn't really know anything about them. I think it could have been written better if it was about this much thicker, because it just really needed that world building to help us engage with the characters and the world itself as well. I don't think I'll be reading the next one in this series, but we'll see when it comes around to it. Now, Strange the Dreamer by Leonie Taylor. Oh my god, I love this book so much. Literally love it. I love how it looks. I also found out that this is a first edition first print as well of this particular cover, including the illustration and printed signature from Leonie Taylor as well. Now, Strange the Dreamer, where do I even start? I only finished this like literally a couple of days ago, and I still feel quite emotional from reading it. I don't really feel that I can talk about the plot without spoiling it, so all I'm going to say is that it was written perfectly, the characters were perfect. When I mentioned Caraval missing world and character building, Strange the Dreamer shows that book how it is done, because it just builds so much. You are in that world, you are with those characters, you're feeling everything that they feel, and it's just magical. I can't wait another year for the next book to come out. It's killing me. A Mask of Shadows by Oscar de Muriel was another book that I read this month. That was the third in the Frey and McGray series, of which I've read the second and third, and the first is on my TBR for May, which is weird, and I don't usually read books upside down, but basically I got the second one of NetGalley last year, not realising it was the second one, and I read it, loved it. The third one came up before I'd had a chance to read the first one, so I read it from NetGalley and then bought the first one to read now that I've read the other two. It's about a couple of police detectives who work in Scotland, and McGray is a really hilarious character. Like, I seriously love that guy, he's so funny. And it's all about sort of their relationship. They have some really good banter. If you've ever seen the series Houdini and Doyle, it's very similar to that. Frey is quite a sort of posh, snooty guy, or at least that's how McGray perceives him, and McGray's very rough and ready, and they have this sort of weird friendship where they pretend they hate each other but really love each other. Marauder by L.L. McNeil. So this was a book by an author who actually contacted me through my blog and asked me to review Marauder. I'm not technically accepting reviews from self-pubbed authors at the moment, but Moroder really appealed to me in its storyline, and I'm glad that I accepted it because it was an exceptional fantasy debut. I don't know L.L. McNeil's personal reasons for self-publishing, but if she did submit to publishers, I don't know why they didn't accept it, because it was so beautifully written, the characters were great, and I know it is part of a series, so I'm hoping that what happened in the end isn't the end, shall we say, without trying to give too much away. But it's really good world building again, very engaging characters. Good to see a lot of women in positions that would normally be saved for men as well, which, as you will know if you've watched my vlog or read my blog, that is a biggie for me. I like to see women in non-typical situations because I am a massive feminist. Another book I read this month was Big Little Lies by Leanne Moriarty. Didn't enjoy that very much either. I seem to have had a bit of a slump with books, in that I haven't enjoyed them as much this month, and then on the opposite end of the scale I've really loved them, like with Strange Dreamer. So I've been watching the series of Big Little Lies, and I don't know if that's what's kind of spoilt it for me, because I liked the series and the book was so different, and whereas normally I will take the book as being the better, I sort of feel like the series was better than the book with this one. But normally I really like Leanne's books, so I'm not sure what happened with that. It's definitely not put me off reading more from her, but I'm going to say that wasn't one of my favourites. The House by Simon Lellick. This was another arc from NetGalley about a young couple who move into a house and make a gruesome discovery in the attic, and then one of them gets accused of murder. This was really good, actually. It was the first book I've read by Simon Lellick, but I really enjoyed it. There was a lot of sort of thriller to it, a lot of sort of hairs pricking up on the back of your neck because you don't really know what's going on, and when you do find out, it's sort of a bit of a kick in the teeth because you think, wow, I really didn't see that coming, so that was good. The Lucky Ones by Mark Edwards. That was another crime thriller arc that I got through NetGalley, and it was about a murderer who was murdering people that he perceived as lucky. So he would do things to help people become really happy, and then as soon as they were really happy, he would kill them, which is a very weird concept, but it was really interesting, really engaging, and I didn't guess who it was either, which is rare for me because normally as soon as I get about 3/4 of the way through, I'm like, yeah, it's that guy, or yeah, it's that woman. But this time I didn't get it right until the end, so that was really good. Descent by Katie O'Sullivan. That was the first in the Son of a Mermaid series, and if you remember from my April TBR, I was really excited to read it because I've not really read anything about mermaids before. This was like the first one. So again, it was very interesting. It was quite a simple read and I got through it very quickly. I think maybe it would be more suited to sort of the younger teenage rather than the young adult. So I probably won't read any more in this series, but only for that reason. I think as a sort of 12-13-year-old girl, I would have loved that, and I would recommend it to you if you are 12 or 13, or if you like that style of sort of children's books, or if you're a mum or a dad and you want to read that book to your child as well, go for it, because it was very enjoyable and I think it could shape out to be a great series. Rather Weird by Andrew Caldecott. This was amazing, like one of the best books that I've read this year, and yet it's from a sort of previously unheard of author. It's a debut, it's the first one in a series, and it's about a town that is cut off from the rest of the country and nobody kind of knows why. This guy goes to teach there and him and a team of others start to investigate and find all these weird goings on. It's sort of more sci-fi than fantasy, and I really enjoyed it. I really liked the way it was developed and the way it was written, and I'm also looking forward to the second book in that series coming out as well. Last but not least, Locked In by Kerry Wilkinson, and that was a recommended read from my grandma. I had already read half of it, and as I'm filming this, I haven't actually finished it still because I'm filming a little bit early because I've got a busy weekend ahead. So up to now, I'm giving it the benefit of the doubt, and I will probably talk more about it next time, or actually I will probably review it on Goodreads or my blog, so just check it out on there if you'd like to hear more about it. So that sums up my April wrap up. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you'd like to talk to me about your opinions on any of the books that I've read, please feel free to leave me a comment or get in touch with me on Goodreads, Twitter, Facebook. All the links to all my social media and my blog is in the description underneath, so you can come on there. I'm very quick to respond, love chatting about books with other people, so drop me a line.